I was once on stage and I had my cell phone on, doing a part. For those of you that haven't been on a group tour, it's not a democracy. It's a dictatorship, but a benevolent one. I'll tell you when to get up, I'll tell you when to sit down, I'll tell you when to eat, I'll tell you when to sleep, and all you have to do is sit back, relax, and enjoy yourselves. And if you have any problems, well, I'm happy to help you resolve them if I can. And if you have any complaints, I'm really not interested. We see a complaint's always after the fact. I'm sorry you didn't like your roast beef last night. Had you told me in the moment, I would have seen that it was done the way you wanted it. But if you tell me the next day, what can I do about it? And I know all of you have paid good, hard-earned money to be on this tour, and I want to make sure that you get your money's worth and then some. So we're about to have a wonderful adventure. Oh, and by the way, I know all of you have a different sense of time. We all do. So set your watches to my time. And when I say that we will leave at 9 o'clock, we will leave at 9 o'clock. I mean, look, I'm happy to come into your room and put a cold wash rag over your face. I've been known to go in and tickle people's feet if I have to. But when I say we'll leave at 9, we will leave at 9. And if you're not there, I'll just assume that you loved Fiji so much that you'll meet us in Auckland, our next stop. I actually gave this introduction many times. I was a tour director for a large travel company for about 10 years. And my first tour, I was assigned across America 3 weeks on a coach, going everywhere. And usually I took Brits or Australians or New Zealand. And my first tour probably was the most memorable of all the tours I did in 10 years. Now get this. We're in front of our hotel on Lexington Avenue in New York. We're starting from New York and going to Washington and then all around the country. And I have on board 45 Brits. And they're lovely. Most of them are civil servants and have paid a lot of money to be on this trip, and they're very, very sweet people. And I stand up in front of the coach, and I say to them over the microphone, I said, everybody, I just wanted to prepare you for our driver, George. He'll be out in a moment. George is blind. And they didn't quite get it, let's put it that way. They sort of were a little stunned, but they didn't quite. And then when I said, oh, and you probably saw the special bumpers on the front of the bus and on the back of the bus. And those will help us. And look, George has taken a lot of classes in sensitivity training and special classes for blind bus drivers. Well, at that point, they sort of got it, and they were like sitting on the edge of their seat, wondering if they should flee or whether they should stay. It was wonderful. The expressions were just amazing, and I tried to keep it the way I'm telling you now, very serious. So who comes out of the hotel but George? He walks out of the hotel. He has a white cane and sunglasses, like this. I said, look, George is coming. He gets up on the bus and sort of like, not quite easily, and he turns around to everybody and says, hi, everybody, my name's George. I'm going to be your driver. And they're just like, everybody's mouth was open. And George sits down, starts the engine, and I say, George, careful pulling out because there's a truck coming up on your right. And he starts going out. I said, oh, wait a second, put your brake on. Okay, now you can go. And then we go up, maybe a block, and I said, oh, watch out, George, there's some pedestrians crossing the street, and put your brake on, and he does. Well, I realized I could not do this for 21 days crossing America. We got as far, though, about 20 minutes we carried this off till we got to the Lincoln Tunnel. And I finally turned around to the group and I said, everybody, this is a joke. Well, at that point, several people booed, and a lot of people started laughing, and a lot of people were like, oh, thank God. But it was a way it just occurred to me in the moment to do it, and I went out and bought the white cane and, the glasses, and I just thought, what a wonderful way to start a tour, with being ridiculous, because you never know what's going to happen. Well, little did I know what was going to happen when we got to Washington, D.C. Get this. The bus is in front of the hotel on DuPont Circle. All 45 Brits are sitting patiently on board the bus. I am standing outside the bus talking to George. The door to the coach is open. And I'm telling George which route I want him to take for our city tour. First go to the Lincoln Memorial and then go around to the Jefferson and then go over the bridge and we'll stop in Arlington or whatever, that kind of thing. And as I'm talking to him, I happen to notice that there are two black men running down the street, but I really didn't pay attention to them until they ran into the coach. And I was stunned for a moment. Then I ran in after them. They were screaming the worst profanity you have ever heard. I will not repeat it here. And I ran up to them and I said, "Gentlemen, I think you thought this was a public bus, but it's a private bus. You'll need to get off." Well, one guy who was wearing a baseball cap and a sweatshirt and a pair of jeans, he got off the bus. But the other fellow was sitting on one of my women passengers' laps. And he was only wearing a see-through bra and see-through panties. And he had dreadlocks that were filthy. And I was not about to do a tug of war and pull him off that woman's lap. Believe me, I did not want to touch him. And he kept screaming, "I want the police! I want the police!" And I said, "You can't go to the police looking like that. You need a dress, you need stockings, you need lipstick, you need heels." And one of my women passengers passed me back her lipstick. And there I am putting lipstick. It never reached his lips because he was babbling so much, all over his face. And finally I stepped back and I tried to do a Billy Crystal imitation. I said, "Ah, darling, you look marvelous. And now you can go and see the police." He very, very gently, very timidly got up off that poor woman's lap, and he turned around and he sashayed off the bus. At that point, that's when my heart started beating. I was so scared, and ironically, I wasn't scared in the moment. I did what I had to do. You know, you just do what you have to do in those situations, whatever it is. But then, that's when the fear set in afterwards. And it occurred to me that fear for me was never in the moment. It's always about a projection in the future. What if that man would have hurt my woman passenger? Or what if he would have had a gun? It wasn't about a gun that I was afraid of. It would have been afraid had he shot someone, and especially me. But it was an interesting observation that's really helped me a lot. When I do feel fear, I realize it's not what's happening at this moment. So I went up to the front of the coach, still my heart is beating, and I said, "Everybody, what did you think was happening?" And one woman timidly raised her hand and she said, "Oh, I thought you planned it as entertainment." And I said to the entire group, I said, "Welcome to America." Thank you.